good morning, and welcome to another episode of the XY Spark podcast. I'm your host, Rolando, and we are here again just to connect with you and to continue our conversations. Just reminding you that the XY Spark podcast is a podcast for men. Our goal and our aim here on the podcast is to seek to create a safe space where more men can come in and interact, where more men are able to access quality supports to address their mental health. Why? Because as a men's life coach and psychotherapist, I've realized that men are in crisis. As men, many of us are in crisis. Why? Because we don't feel like there is a space or there's any support. So sometimes we take matters into our own hands. We tend to try to do things on our own by ourselves all the time, and it's really hurting us. It's hurting our community. It's hurting the society. It's hurting our kids. It's hurting our loved ones. It's hurting another mother, it's hurting another brother, a sister is hurting. And we here at XY Spark want to take the opportunity and use this platform to continue conversations about why men's mental health should not be something that is ignored. Men's mental health should not be something that we only talk about in November or we only talk about in June. Men's mental health is something that we need to talk about 365 days a year. Why? Because men's mental health is in crisis, and mental health is not a myth. And I really want to challenge all of my followers. I want to challenge every man who follows the XY Spark podcast, whether you are there on Instagram, on YouTube, if you are a follower on the podcast, if you come to our live on TikTok. Listen, guys, I really want to challenge you today that we have to do something different in 2025 and going forward. Already the year has started on a very sad note. I'm not sure where you are and what's going on in your neck of the woods, if I can use that expression, but there is a crisis that is going on in the male population. Guys, we have to do something different. I just want to remind you guys that the XY Spark podcast is a podcast for men. And right now, if you'd like to join our conversation, please feel free to do so. You can join our conversation. We are live on YouTube. We're also live on the podcast. You can join our podcast conversation on xyspark.podbean.com. You can also join us live on TikTok, and we are here every morning between the hour of 5:30 and 6:30, where we come into the space and seek to facilitate conversations about men's mental health. Hey, I see you, Liv. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Now, guys, this morning I'm here and I'm feeling a bit saddened. I'm saddened. And why I'm saddened is we are only in the third day of 2025, and already I'm seeing disturbing thing in the news. For example, right here in Canada, and I'm not sure where you are. Good morning. In Canada, we saw in the news that two murder suicides happened here in Canada already. And what they're saying in the news is that they have recognized that is because more men, and I'm going to reiterate it, and I've been saying that here on the podcast so many times. They're saying that, it has caused a huge concern about number one, intimate partner violence, but number two, they're saying the men need help. And guys, listen, man, I'm saying this to you. Guys, if you're in a relationship and your partner decides that, hey, you know what, I'm getting out, that's not a window for you to attack her, to take her life, to take the life of a kid. And I'm really sad when I hear these reports Okay, and I'm saying here at XY Spark, guys, this is what I am really appealing to the men who come on this podcast to say, guys, we have to do something differently. We have to work on our insecurities. We have to let our ladies feel safe again. We have to let our kids feel safe again. If your mental health is out of sync and you're feeling insecure in your relationship, then you have to work on yourself. Guys, you have to start listening to your partners more. If they're telling you that something is not going well, listen to them. Work on yourself. Stop being so controlling your relationships. Stop being a narcissist. Stop putting the woman at risk. I was so sad when I turned on the television just to watch the news and saw how these men went off. I saw the brother of mourning for a sister that he lost, right? Whose life was taken. And this happened at Christmas dinner. They had a disagreement. And from there, the guy went home and he took the life of this woman because she was frustrated in her relationship. And how many women we have who are in relationships where they're frustrated, and the men, we are not listening. Why aren't we listening? Why are we creating these unhealthy spaces, and we expect that all women are going to stay in those unhealthy relationships, and when the women decide to leave, then you decide that you're going to harm her physically and harm her family and harm the kids. And then the sad thing is, those men also end up taking their own lives. So all of that needs to change. And I'm saying, guys, the reality is it's a mental health issue. And guys, we have to take our mental health seriously. Okay? We have to take our mental health seriously. We have to stop harming and hurting the women, the children, the parents in whose lives we are a part of. Guys, let me help you to understand something. Having people around you who love and care for you, that's a privilege. It's an honor. You should treasure that. Your role and your responsibility as a man in a relationship is you've got to seek to make sure that your partner, your kids, that people who are around you feel safe. But the reality is, we have taken advantage of that too much, to the point now where the society and the community is losing trust in us as men. That's why we're being treated the way we're treated, even by the judicial system. That's why for some of us guys, when we show up, judges and all those people who are in that hierarchical role, they are automatically no nonsense. So you wonder why sometimes a guy is has to leave his home. Court orders him to leave his home, and he's out there living in a basement somewhere, or he's trying to pay, child support and alimony and all of that because he can't be in the home. Do you know why that is happening? Because so many of us as men, we are not growing and I'm going to say this, we're not growing the guts. We're not you know bold enough to acknowledge that I'm in a bad spot, and if I don't change the way I'm living my life, things are going to go haywire. And that's what's happening, guys. That's why many of us as men, we are being treated the way we are, because we are hurting people in the community, and those who have the authority to do something about it, they're trying their best to do something about it. But if as men we address our mental health, and I'm talking to you guys because today I'm really, really perturbed about how, it's just 3 days and already we have two men who are, committing suicide. We have two men who are, taking the lives of persons that they're interacting with. Why? Because that person has decided that, hey, I can't stay in this relationship, it's too unhealthy. Why are you fighting somebody to stay in an unhealthy relationship with you? If that's what you're doing as a man, you have a self-esteem issue, you need to work on it. If your thoughts are, if nobody can have I can't have you, nobody else, you have a mental health issue, you need to work on it. Guys, there is no shame in acknowledging that you're struggling with your mental health. The shame is what is here now when a man goes out and does unhealthy things like that, where he's hurting somebody, right? Guys, we have to stop doing this. Listen, man, I'm telling you, we have to stop doing this. Our kids are suffering. There's too much pain that's in the society now because as men, we are not taking the initiative to work on our mental health. I ranted, guys, because, I'm passionate about this. And that's why here at XY Spark, we're saying, listen, this is a safe space. And, I just want to acknowledge those who, I've never met them, but because it's public news, I want to acknowledge this brother who was interviewed, on the news. I want to acknowledge you. I'm not sure where you are, brother. I'm sorry uh, that to hear about that, and I just pray that you will go through that journey. Get some counseling, do some grief counseling, get some support, you and your family, to work through that, and the healing journey for that is going to take some time. So I just want to send a shout out to you and acknowledge you, and and say, hey, if you even want to chat, you can reach out and connect with us here on XY Spark, and we'll seek to support you as best we can. So kudos to you. And that's the family that we saw there. There's one family in Calgary. I saw the news. There's another family. I think they were in, was it in Montreal or some other place? Both incidents happened in Canada on the New Year. And I want to say, guys, I'm so sorry about that. And I just pray healing over your lives, and hope that you'll go through this and find healthy places where you can connect with people who can support you as you experience this grief. For those who are joining us here on the podcast, thank you for joining us. This is an XY Spark podcast, the podcast for men, where we continue to seek to normalize conversations about men's mental health, because mental health is not a myth. And more men are ignoring the reality that their mental health is in chaos. And we're saying here at Exois Park, we know that when we seek to speak more about men's mental health, we will lessen the reports of intimate partner violence. We will lessen the reports of murder suicides. We will lessen the reports of men who are doing unhealthy things, men who are hurting and harming more persons in the community. So we are saying that here at XY Spark, we want to normalize conversations about men's mental health. Why? Because men's mental health is not a myth. And just as you're saying in the news, I'm saying, and I've been saying that here, that if mindset, guys, mindset makes a man or breaks a man. And if we can seek to engage more of more men, if we can seek to create a safe space for men, and if we can make more if we can normalize more conversations about men's mental health, it's a good place to start. Why? Because we have a responsibility as professionals to seek to see how best we can say, hey guys, if you are struggling, we're here to support you. And that's what I'm saying here to you guys as a psychotherapist, as a men's life coach. I'm saying this to you, men. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to, do the things that you've been doing. We can break the cycle right now by starting with normalization of conversations about mental health. So today it's Freedom Friday. We are going off into another weekend. This is the first Friday of 2025. I hope that you guys have had a better week than I have. And my rant is because when I listen to the news and I hear the worry, the increase already, the worry, the concern about intimate partner violence, the murder, suicides that are happening, when I hear that as a professional in the space, I say to myself, I want to seek to connect with more professionals, more men, who are in the space working with mental health to say, hey guys, let's wake up. Let's break out of these cycles. Let's seek to do more intense work to save our our daughters, to save our moms, to save the life of a woman, because it's not okay. And as men, we have to continue to work on ourselves. As men, what I find that we do a lot of, we spend so much time trying to make money, trying to look good on the outside, trying to have the profile. Everybody wants to be a celebrity in some way or the other, but we're not spending enough time as men to address our mental health. We're not working on our mental health. We put it on the back burner too much. And that's the reason why we are hurting the community and we're hurting ourselves the way we are. I'm saying that, guys, men's mental health is in crisis, and we want to work on healing. We want to work on transformation. We want to work on creating a safe space where men can come and acknowledge where they're at and work on themselves so that they can heal and become the best version of themselves. We just want to reset the room here. This is the XY Spark podcast, the podcast for men, where we seek to normalize conversations about men's mental health. And, we are live right now on TikTok. We're also live on YouTube. You can also join the conversation right here on the podcast. And if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you'd like to join in the conversation, we do offer live life coaching calls right here on the podcast. So if you're on TikTok and you want to ask a question, you can do so. You can type in the chat or you can join live and let's have this conversation. Today is Friday. It's Freedom Friday. And we are talking, the theme today is how to win the battle over self doubt. How to win the battle against self doubt. Now, guys, self doubt is something that we all, from time to time, we struggle with. All right. We want to talk about overcoming self doubt this morning, and how do we overcome self doubt? Do you have self doubt? Do you know what that feels like? Is self doubt something that you have been struggling with for a long time? All right. How do you identify some of these traits? What are the traits of self-doubt? Now, when we look in the field of psychology, for example, there are so many authors and writers that talk about self-doubt. Okay, there are three expressions about self-doubt that we want to talk about this morning. Number one is we want to talk about self handicapping, right? And this is normally a defensive strategy. This is a defensive strategy, right? And it's sort of, as we go into that self handicapping, that defensive strategy prevents us, guys, in some way from really taking the initiative to do anything, right? It's like we blame ourselves, we blame our struggles on something other than our own, inconsistency. So self-doubt can be, it's a self-handicapping thing. And what we do is, when we get into that space in our minds, we end up hurting ourselves more and more. Why? Because we're not motivated. We're not doing things right. It self-handicapping sort of blurs our vision, right? And it prevents us, guys, from really focusing on our strengths. So we want to talk about how we move through that, right? Self handicapping, guys, it sort of puts us into that place where it blurs the reasons for our mistakes or failures. So self handicapping behaviors, guys, those come in the form of, hey, using drugs, for example, right? Using a lot of alcohol, procrastinating, right? These are some of the things that happen to us when we are wrapped up in the blanket of self doubt, right? Sometimes, self doubt can put us into that spot where we are constantly overachieving, right? Overachieving, and this is one of the things that we do a lot of. We get into that space where we sort of become overachievers. So we are never in that space where like we're celebrating or we're satisfied with the small wins. We're always telling ourselves it's not enough, there needs to be more, versus taking the time to say, hey, you know what, I want to I want to slow down rather and acknowledge, the win that I've experienced so far. I want to seek to, take a moment to just reflect on my journey and the things that I've done so far and where I was to where I am. So getting into what I call a celebratory mindset is a powerful way, guys, to confront self doubt, confronting it in the moment, celebrating the successes, even though they may seem insignificant, but working on it and working through it. It's a powerful way to overcome self doubt. All right. There's also, the big one is the imposter syndrome, when we feel like, the success that we have experienced is not an accurate reflection of who we are. So we achieve success, but we're telling ourselves it's not success, right? It's a big difference from us saying, hey, you know what, I got a 90, but I didn't, the 10 that's missing. I should have gotten the 10. Why did I get the 10? Versus say, I got a 9 out of the 10 and I'm feeling great about that. So, we are caught in this web, rather, where self-doubt, guys, sort of puts us into that space where we are there in that, the imposter syndrome space, and we are not celebrating. We can't keep, or we can't, validate ourselves for the wins. We tend to really be very critical of ourselves, right? We are constantly comparing ourselves with somebody else versus saying, hey, you know what? I need to take some time now to celebrate and acknowledge, the success that I've accomplished here. So we want to talk about overcoming self-doubt. And in overcoming self-doubt, according to psychology today, there are some things that we're going to need to work on. Number one is we have to work on unconditional self-worth. Unconditional self-worth, right? And that is really nurturing and creating, okay, a sense that your worth is neither increase or decrease by the external factors. And that is key, because if you're going to overcome self doubt, you've got to take the attention away from the community. You've got to take the attention away from everybody else. Stop seeking validation outside of yourself. All right. If it's hard for you to find validation within yourself, then you need to go and do some work on yourself. So, guys, going forward, I'm going to say this to you. You have to start investing some time and money in your own well being, in your own mental health. Okay, your mental health cannot just address itself. And if you don't have the skills to do it, if you want to overcome self doubt, you have to take the initiative to work on yourself. Invest time in yourself, invest some money in yourself. And I'm not talking about investing money to get what you call physical, physical gains. I'm talking investing money in your psychological and emotional health. That is what we need to work on if we're going to overcome self doubt, right? So, cultivate, guys, the mindset whereby you are working and investing in yourself. It's time to stop looking outside of yourself for validation. Time to start working on yourself. Time to start to recognize that, hey, my worth is not based on how people treat me. My worth is based on how I treat myself. My worth is not based on how people view me. My worth is based on the view that I have of myself. My worth is not, unfortunately, because many persons believe that my worth is not in the amount of money that I have. Because, if I go into name calling, Diddy had lots of money, but it still wasn't suffice. It wasn't satisfied because he still seemed to have not been comfortable with himself, right? So your word have got to be more than just the external. Your word has got to be, how you view yourself. Your word has got to be how you talk about yourself. Your word has got to be created through a new mindset and perspective about who you are when you are standing in that room all by yourself, right? Your word has got to not be based on the opinion of everybody else. So that's number one. Number two is you've got to have unconditional love. Unconditional love. You have got to have a love for yourself that is not just a temporary thing. It's got to be permanent, right? You've got to set some standards for yourself. You've got to have some expectations. You've got to stop compromising and selling yourself out cheap. You've got to have some worth. You've got to have some moral, have a moral compass by which you live your life, right? And overcoming self doubt means that you've got to have unconditional love, have a permanent love for yourself. You've got to stop living your life on the river, on the bank, sort of a thing. You've got to stop trying to live your life in that gray area. You've got to be committed and have some unconditional love for yourself that you are consistently doing, which is why we reiterate so many times, guys, that personal development is not an event, it's a lifestyle. And we have put out our merch with that expression on it. You can get that if you're so entitled, and feel so impressed too. That personal development is not an event, it's a lifestyle. So as you practice that lifestyle, you will have unconditional love for yourself. The next thing that you can do to win the battle over self-doubt is focus on growth, growing. Okay, growth is key. Develop desirable personal qualities and build your strengths. So, what are your strengths? What are you good at? What makes you who you are? What are some of those things that you value as an individual? Are you someone that's kind? Are you caring? Are you compassionate? Are you someone that carries your emotions on your sleeves? What are your strengths? And oftentimes it's hard for you, and I realize that sometimes it's hard even for a lot of men to take time to reflect on that and celebrate that. And I'm saying, guys, that addressing your mental health means oftentimes working on growth, personal growth strategies, and make it something that you do, that you continue to do, make it ongoing. The next thing that we want to do, guys, if we want to build or win the battle against self doubt, is you've got to use positive self talk. Say things to yourself that are kind, positive. Say things to yourself that's empowering. No more of that talk. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares. Right? Nobody will miss me anyway. Right? Sometimes, I'm useless. I'm not good looking. I'm not committed. And guys, I'm saying this to you. I'm talking to you now, men and ladies. You're here. I'm speaking to you too, as well as you're here. If you find that you're not using positive self talk, winning the battle over self doubt is going to be more challenging. You have to start creating that mindset where you are spending some time to use positive self talk. Okay, growing, evolving into becoming the best version of yourself. It is because more of us as men are not using positive self talk, and there are several reasons why that may be. All right, that could be a cultural thing, that could be a societal thing. All right, it could be that, guys, you were in a relationship and it never worked out, and your partner said things to you that you took on, and when you left that relationship you started to believe that that's just who you are. But what if they weren't correct? Then who are you? What makes you who you are? So use positive self talk. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself some grace. Forgive yourself. All right? Let go of some of the negative things that you've been holding on to. Use positive self talk to create a new mindset that's healthier and that's more empowering. The next thing that you need to do if you're going to win the battle over self doubt is you want to use affirmations. Use affirmation, right? Affirmations. Hey, seek to do that. You might, start saying good things about yourself, engaging in that process, right? Look at, hey, I'm on this project, or I've been struggling with an addiction. I've been struggling with, negative self talk. I've been procrastinating. But you find that you got up today, and hey, you know what? An hour passed by and I wasn't, beating myself up or saying negative things about myself. That's great. Acknowledge that. Hey, you know what? I'm doing my best. Okay? I'm going to keep trying. All right. Hey, I didn't do it for the past hour. It feels great. You might have not been, engaged or involved in life as much as you once were, but you find that this week passed by, you were able to do some things that you didn't do the previous weeks. Hey, use affirmation and acknowledge that. It was good. That felt good. I enjoyed going to the gym. I enjoyed going for that walk. I enjoyed getting up out of bed and preparing a meal for myself. I enjoyed reaching out to somebody. I enjoyed, going for the hike. I enjoyed going for that drive. I enjoyed the fact that, hey, normally I wouldn't reach out, but a friend of mine texted me and I texted them back and we chatted for 5 minutes. I enjoyed doing that. And I'm saying, guys, that the more we put ourselves in that space where we are coming out of those comfort zones, the more we put ourselves in spaces where we stop harming ourselves as men. And I'm speaking to you, men, because it's really, really critical for us as men to realize that the intimate partner violence, the murder suicides, the suicide rate, the deteriorating mental health of our men in the community is because we are not taking the lead on it. Listen, guys, we have got to get out of this space where, we're wallowing in self pity and self doubt and we're blaming everybody else. We're blaming society. We're blaming our exes. We're blaming, our job. We're blaming politicians. We're blaming. Guys, I want to tell you, none of these people or these names can do anything for you. You have got to do it for yourself. I also want to say, hey, you may be out there, you may be a Caucasian man, an Asian man, an Afro American man. You have got to stop making the excuse and saying you can't do. Why? Because culture sometimes is what is harming a lot of us as men. We are listening and following through with some of the cultural expectations too much. Who cares about culture? If your mental health is in crisis, culture cannot help you to address that. You have to address that on your own. You have to take the initiative to do that. You're doing that for you. You're not doing that for the culture. And one of the most empowering things that I ever seen as a psychotherapist is when I see men from different ethnicities reach out and say, Rolando, I want to work. I need to work on myself. I'm struggling. That's empowering. That is what is going to save a marriage. That's what's going to save a life. That's what's going to stop a suicide. That's what's going to help more men to create a healthier mindset. That is what is going to get our society to the next place where the statistics of intimate partner violence will go down. The statistic of murder suicides will go down. The statistic of suicides will go down. Guys, I'm saying the change has to start with you right here, right now, wherever you are around the planet. I need you to challenge yourself to break out of this culturally chaotic space that you're in and stop listening to the critique, the internal critique. Stop listening to some of those persons with whom you are connecting and take ownership of your mental health. Your mental health is your responsibility, guys. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how cute you are, how tall you are, none of that matters. Mental health can and will destroy your life. And the sad reality of that is that many of us as men, when as our mental health is deteriorating, the selfish thing that we do is we seek to destroy the lives of other people. And I'm saying, guys, we have to stop that by taking the lead and working on your mental health. You're on social media, you're working in certain roles, and you come in and you put on this show, right? Guys, let us stop putting on these shows. Let us be true to ourselves. Let us be real. Let us be honest. Let us start working on ourselves. Guys, wherever you are on the planet, reach out to somebody. Stop worrying about judgment. Stop feeling the fear of what people will think. I'm going to say this to you guys, that even if you're in a relationship with somebody and they make you feel that you're weak or you're not worth it because you're seeking out help, though that person doesn't deserve to be in your life. That's the reality, right? That person doesn't deserve to be in your life. You don't deserve to be with that person, because if they're going to make you feel guilty for taking the initiative to work on yourself, then that person doesn't have your best interest at heart. And I know I might be destroying some relationships or causing people to think, hey, what is that? I'm saying that whether you are wherever you are, whether you are Asian, Caucasian, African, from the Caribbean, wherever on the planet you're from, if you are a man and you're in a relationship and you say, hey, I want to talk to somebody, I need to go to rehab, I need to get counseling, I need to, start taking care of myself better. And that person is making you feel like, hey, what's your problem? Man up, be tough, then you don't deserve to be in that relationship. And ladies, I'm going to tell you that if you notice that your partner is struggling with your mental health, you need to say to him, hey, listen, give him some sort of a directive. Listen, dude, I love you, I want to be with you, but if you don't work on yourself, we can't continue. And if you're hearing that in your relationship, guys, it means something is off. It means you have to go work on yourself. Stop playing around, guys. Stop. This is not a joking matter here right now. We are in a serious situation. Our women are suffering. Our kids are suffering. Moms are in pain. We have to take the lead. We have to move away from this historical belief that we have, that if a man asks for help, he's weak. That's it. As when a man acknowledges that he's struggling, something is wrong with him. Guys, that's a lie. That's not true. Let me tell you what a weak man. A weak man is someone who's not who remains in denial. A weak man is someone who doesn't open himself to listen, to be influenced. A weak man is one who is not taking the time. to recognize that his mindset is in the wrong place. Those are some of the signs of a weak man. A weak man is one who tries to use anger and aggression and manipulation to control his relationship. Those are the signs of a man that's weak. That's not a strong man. Okay, a strong man is a man who's able to get up and recognize that, hey, something's got to change. I have a drug addiction. I have a porn addiction. I have an alcohol addiction. I'm angry all the time. Okay, I'm on a short fuse. I need help. Is that you? Is that you? Are you connected with somebody who's doing that? Then, guys, you know what to do. Get some help, man. Move out of this space where you're stuck and get some help. That's what's going to heal you. That's what's going to heal your relationship. That's what's going to lessen the suicide rates. That's what's going to lessen the murder suicide rates. That's what's going to lessen the intimate partner violence that we're seeing. We're almost at the end of our podcast today. But, guys, if you find that this episode was helpful, please just keep those hearts, those likes coming. Just type in the chat, you know, what was healthy for you. Just give a thumbs up, give a heart. If you're on YouTube, thank you for being here live on YouTube. We appreciate you. We'd like to get your feedback. We'd also like you to listen more episodes like these on our podcast at xyspark.podbean.com. Okay. And, I would really want to have you participate in this. Okay. This is key.
How are you?
All right. I'm great. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Great. This is Rolando. You're live on the podcast. This is the XY Spark podcast. This is a podcast for men where we continue conversations about men's mental health. Thank you for joining us live here. How can we help you today? What would you like us to chat about today?
Um, I personally would like to chat about men's health and their well-being
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like men like to keep their feelings very bottled up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just like to say it's okay for men to cry.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Okay. And you're right. You're right. And what's your name? And what's your name? Okay. So we have two participants that are live this morning, and a powerful point was just made that I want to reiterate from one of our female viewers who says, hey, she says, it's okay for men to cry. And a lot of guys in hearing that, they'll think, which planet is she from? All right. But guys, it's just the truth. It's okay for men to acknowledge emotions. It's okay for us to feel. It's okay for us to not be okay at times so we can heal. Okay? So thank you for sharing your point. I see Uma. Hey Uma, welcome. Where are you joining us from? Hey Uma, where are you joining us from? Okay. All right. So guys, as I was saying, today I want to encourage you. More men have to start taking the initiative to work on their mental health, right? Your mental health is your responsibility, and no man is immune to being impacted. In the meantime, please, guys, keep those hearts coming. If you find that the content of the podcast was empowering to you, please let us know by typing in the chat, giving the thumbs up, keep those hearts coming. And join us again on Monday morning when we'll be here again to continue our daily podcast. This is the XOS Spark podcast, the podcast for men, where we continue to have conversations about men's mental health. This is your boy and your men's life coach, Rolando. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next time as we engage in more conversations that has to do with men's mental health and wellness. You guys have a great day, and we will see you again next time. But just before we go, never ever forget this, that personal development is not an event, it's a lifestyle. We are challenging you to take the lead and experience this lifestyle. Why? Because at XY Spark, we believe that there is a spark in you. We will see you again next time. Have a great weekend and be safe.